Good morning, Flagler County, and welcome to Veterans on Point, a WNZF radio show developed in mind for our county's beloved and respected veterans population and anyone else listening via internet or podcast. I'm your host, David Lydon, the Flagler County Veterans Services Officer, and of course I'm here now again with my friend and colleague at the office who's been gone for 3 weeks, but he is back. Eric Flores. Good morning, Eric.
Good morning, Dave, and good morning to all our listeners out there. And as always, hoping that everybody is doing well health-wise and enjoying this great weather that we haven't lately. So,
yeah, we've got some great weather out there.
Indeed.
So tell our listeners how your trip down to Puerto Rico was, seeing your dad. And
it went well. My dad, this wasn't planned, but he fell a week before. 2 weeks before I got there, so he had surgery in his shoulder bone, and so I took care of him for my vacation there, and then my father-in-law.
You gave his sisters a break, right?
Yes, big time, and my cousin, which take care of him while I'm here and while we're here, because I have 3 other brothers and sisters, and then my father-in-law have diverticulitis flare up, and he ended up in the hospital for a week, but. Hey, things happen, and we have to take care of family.
Well, you're a good man. You're down there as a caregiver on your vacation.
Yes,
you're caring for people here. You're caring for people there.
Absolutely.
So that's what
I love it. Yeah,
that's what you do.
Yes, and I mean it's a great feeling, when you're bathing your dad, 80 something, and he expect that for you to do that the next day. It's a great feeling. Believe me, I never.
It's what turn around, come around. He did it for you.
Absolutely,
50 some years ago.
Crazy, yeah. It's crazy, but it was a good feeling.
Yeah, it's like a circle.
It is.
Comes back around.
A cycle of life,
Mm-hmm. All right. Well, I'm glad you're back, and I'm glad your dad's doing better.
Oh yeah, he's a warrior.
Yeah, my dad's not doing so good right now. He's got a couple vertebrae that are broke. He had to have some. I guess they squirted some glue into it, believe it or not. But he's still not feeling too well. So. Both my mom and dad are, they're taking turns being under the weather.
We pray for them.
Yeah, thank you. All right, so you know that Eric and I are your Flagler County Veterans Services officers. We're at 1769 East Moody Boulevard in Bunnell. Our phone number is 386-313-4014. If you need help with VA claims or anything else related to your service, we're there to try to help you out, whether it's trying to log into the va.gov system and you don't have a login.gov password yet. We'll help you with that. That is kind of difficult. Some folks have a hard time with it, especially uploading the driver's license pictures.
Yeah, the ID Me section of it is kind of difficult, but we're figuring that out, and
by trial and error. Yep,
we'll be becoming expert on that. So the more we try, the better we get at it.
I think so. So yeah, we help with all those things. So just make sure, please give us a call, 386-313-4014, and make an appointment, especially if you're a regular and that we deal with appointments. And, we ask for appointments because we like to dedicate the appropriate amount of time to your situation. So we're not feeling rushed, and we'll want to miss anything to help you out. We'll forgive you if it's your first time stumbling down the hallway and finding our office, as happened a couple times today. And I was able to squeeze in those folks. But again, sometimes we can't get it all done because we've got other things to do.
But we won't forgive you if you're a frequent flyer.
Yeah, and that's the folks that come in with a folder in their hand saying, "Oh, I just happened to be in the area." And anyway, we do the best we can with the two of us. We're taking care of a lot of veterans here locally, and we're happy to do it. We just like you remember when you're in the military, you gotta have things lined up and have a regiment, and that's what we try to do so that we can be accurate in what we're doing and efficient and successful for you.
Indeed.
Okay, so this week's Star Spangled Banner, Eric, is I think this is one of I think one of Deanna's favorites, Mark Anthony, or is that your favorite?
Oh yeah, I think it's Deanna more than myself, but yeah.
So Mark Anthony I think it's from about 13 years ago, Star Spangled Banner at a sporting event. Sounded pretty good, so stick around to the end of the program and hear Mark Anthony sing the Star Spangled Banner.
She made me go to 3 concerts of that guy. Said, God, Deanna, it's the same thing over and over. But hey, I have to please the queen.
That's right. And she deserves it.
Oh yeah.
I mean, you know, she stood by your side in during those Navy years for sure.
Always, yeah.
A lot of separations that came during that time.
Big time.
Yep. So, and she had the kids to take care of. Well, you get to gallivant around the globe.
But it's amazing, you know. I just remember, you know, when we first got married, we didn't have no vehicle, so she used and I mean, it was a big language barrier between her. It was her first time here in the state, so no vehicle, doing everything by our transportation was the bus, you know, public bus. So
just figuring it out.
And she did.
All right, so let's let you remind you about if you want to make a Veteran of the Week nomination. Send that information to Brent Warnoff at the Palm Coast Observer. His email is brent@observerlocalnews.com. And our League of Loyal Listeners, of course, Billy Jones and his wife Jo, always at the top. Good friends.
Good morning, Mr. Billy.
And so we're always in touch with those folks.
Oh, yeah. He called me last week to welcome me back.
That's what a nice
Great
man.
guy.
Yep.
Yes.
Navy Master Chief and his Dan and his wife Kay. We're gonna have to check in on them.
I believe so. Yes.
And of course, our Marine pal Jeff Kingdon, who was guest host last week.
All right.
And
he did a great job as always.
He did, and he was just recently, last November, he was the Spectrum News 13 Veteran of the Month for all that he does with the wooden plaques that he donates all over the place to veterans and first responders and nursing facilities and assisted living homes. And so we came to our surprise, and he was alerted that Spectrum News 13 chose him as the Hero of the Year for 2024.
Well deserved,
So congratulations,
Jeff.
The accolades keep coming, and you keep serving, and thank you for all that you do.
Indeed, keep doing what you're doing. You're doing a great job.
And I saw Talking Tom yesterday. Talking Tom, he had an appointment with me yesterday. He showed up an hour early. I know he's trying to show me he can be early and not late. So
for once, huh?
Yeah. So Tom, thanks, Tom. And to Eileen, hope know you're doing better, Eileen, and that's good to hear. And of course, we've got Charlie Hanger and his wife Jenny always listening, and Valerie met her and her husband recently. And we've got Dennis and Sharon and Bill and Norman and Howard and his wife Valerie and William and Holly and Keith and some Jameses, lots of Jameses. We got James the Mail Maid, James Bicycle, got Bicycle Frank.
James, thanks for the Dunkin' Donut car.
Yeah, we're going to pay it forward.
Yes.
Just so you know, James the Mail Maid. And you're very kind.
He is.
And we do pay those things forward because we like to see a smile on a veteran's face.
Indeed.
So. And we got Stephen and David and Mrs. Martin, Mr. Holt, and I mentioned Bicycle Frank, and we got Delmer. Haven't seen Delmer in a while.
Yeah.
And we got Michael and Rudolph and Thomas and Leon and Frankie Jr. and
Frankie. Good morning.
Frankie,
guys.
the dad, was in to show you his Army hat recently.
Brand new hat.
And so
that was a gift from Charlie Hanger.
And I know I'm forgetting some. I've had some new folks in. Emil came in. Emil Naif and his wife. So
good morning, guys.
And good morning. Thanks for listening.
Going back to Bicycle Frank, we went last Friday. 2 Fridays ago.
We saw McCulver's.
Yeah, he got up real quick from that chair.
I'll tell you what. That's a 80-plus-year-old man with bicycles and gets all around town. he's got some broken legs, been hit by vehicles 2 times, and he's still showing up.
He has some energy.
And he stands tall too.
He is.
So Bicycle Frank, you're amazing.
You are.
All right, so this is the sixth week of talking about one of our presidents, and this is the 6th president of the United States and Commander-in-Chief. This is part of the history we like to talk about here on the show. As you know, veterans make history and preserve our history, and so our presidents being able to be elected, that's preserved by our veterans and our armed forces.
Yes.
So, John Quincy Adams. He is the 6th president of the United States, served from 1825 to 1829. He lived a remarkable life filled with intriguing and lesser-known details that paint a picture of a man far more complex than his single-term presidency might suggest. Born on July 11th, 1767 in Braintree, Massachusetts, which is now Quincy, he was the son of John Adams, the 2nd U.S. president, and Abigail Adams, a formidable intellect in her own right. While his presidency is often overshadowed by his father's legacy or the more flamboyant figures of his era, John Quincy's life offers a treasure trove of fascinating tidbits. One striking fact is that John Quincy Adams was a child witness to history. At just 8 years old, he stood beside his mother on a hill near their farm and watched the Battle of Bunker Hill unfold during the Revolutionary War in 1775. The sight of the smoke and cannon fire left a lasting impression, sparking his lifelong commitment to public service. By the age 14, he was already stepping onto the global stage, serving as a secretary and interpreter, thanks to his fluency in French, to Francis Dana, the U.S. envoy to Russia. This made him one of the youngest Americans to engage in international diplomacy, a role he took while still a teenager. Adams was a polymath with eclectic interest. He spoke multiple languages, including French, Dutch, Latin, and Greek, and even picked up some Russian during his travels. His intellectual curiosity extended to the natural world. He was an avid astronomer and helped establish the Smithsonian Institution, earning him the nickname the Father of the American Astronomy. In 1825, while president, he proposed the National Observatory, a visionary idea that was mocked as too extravagant by his political opponents, who dubbed it lighthouses of the sky. Yet his foresight laid the groundwork for future scientific advancements. His personal quirks were equally captivating. Adams had a pet alligator, which he kept in the White House during his presidency. A gift from the Marquis de Lafayette, the Revolutionary War hero. The alligator reportedly lived in a bathtub in the East Room for several months, startling unsuspecting guests. This wasn't his only unusual habit. Adams was known to skinny dip in the Potomac River as part of his daily routine, even during his presidency. On one occasion, a journalist named Anne Royale allegedly ambushed him in mid-swim, sitting on his clothes until he granted her an interview, making it one of the earliest recorded instances of the president being cornered by the press. Politically, Adams was a man ahead of his time, but often out of step with his era. His presidency was marked by ambitious proposals, like a national university and extensive infrastructure projects, that were largely thwarted by a hostile Congress and the bitter aftermath of the contentious 1824 election decided by the House of Representatives in what became known as the corrupt bargain. Yet his post-presidency career was where he truly shone. After leaving office, he didn't retire, but instead ran for and won a seat in the House of Representatives in 1830, serving for 17 years until his death in 1848. He remains the only U.S. president to serve in Congress after his presidential term, a testament to his relentless dedication. Even his death was theatrical. On February 21st, 1848, Adams collapsed on the House floor after voting against honoring Mexican-American war generals, a war he opposed as an imperialist venture. He died 2 days later in the speaker's room of the Capitol, surrounded by colleagues. His life, from witnessing revolution to wrestling alligators and championing justice, reveals a man whose story is far richer than the history books often convey. And that is John Quincy Adams.
Very smart guy.
And here's a quote of the week, and it comes from John Quincy Adams. Always vote for principle, though you may vote alone, and you may cherish the sweetest reflection that your vote is never lost. So, very interesting. I hope that's when you hear these interesting and unknown facts about, or largely unknown facts about your previous presidents, that you find it interesting, that you learn something about it. And I certainly do. And I know last week, Tom and Jeff both were very intrigued by James Monroe.
Yeah, we always learn something. I mean, I didn't know that he was. He's a very smart guy. Okay, I knew that, but he was also a very wild man. Which is fine. But there's always something new to learn about it.
Yeah. Well, that brings us to the point of the program where I say, drivers, the DAV is seeking volunteer drivers to take veterans from their homes to their VA appointments. And you don't need to use your own vehicle if you're a volunteer. The DAV does have VA vehicles for that purpose. You do have to be insurable. You don't have to be a veteran to volunteer. And you do have to have a physical by the VA. It's very brief. So please consider contacting DAV Chapter 86 at 386-439-2122. That's 386-439-2122 to find out how to become a volunteer.
That DAV drivers, it's well-used services. I just had a 2-call last week for 2 veterans that have community care appointment, VA appointment. So it is well-used. So they always need drivers.
So some of my loyal listeners I talked to recently said they didn't know that the DAV would take you to your CEP appointments. I said, well, you must not be listening if you're a loyal listener, because I say it quite often. So
indeed. Don't listen to just one show. Listen to every show, because we always say it.
Well, some of my loyal listeners say they run away when I yell drivers.
That's probably why.
Yeah. So anyway, so don't dodge, don't run out of the room when I say that, because then you'll miss some important information, especially on how you can take advantage of this great service. Maybe I'll have to tone it down and just say, drivers. And then they'll stick around.
Yeah.
Because if you whisper, they'll wonder, what is he whispering about?
But now they can't read our lips in the camera.
Yeah.
So.
All right, so a little bit of information on the Robert Beck Military Service Honor Cord ceremony is April 29th. And it's going to be at the VFW at 6 o'clock. That's a Tuesday. And that is where the Veterans Advisory Council, the County Veterans Advisory Council, provides a red, white, and blue honor cord, braided honor cord, to high school seniors that have made the excellent decision to join the armed forces after graduation. And so if you are listening and you know a high school student who's graduating this year and would like to participate, please let them know to give Eric or myself a call at 386-313-4014. There is a flyer out in the schools with a QR code, for the young folks that like to use their phone they can RSVP just by using the QR code. So you can do it that way. I reached out. The Marine Corps recruiter said she's going to bring her folks. Had the National Guard recruiter got a hold of me. So and that's been helpful by First Sergeant Caraballo up at Matanzas. He's been looking out for us, trying to get the word out. So thank you, First Sergeant.
Thank you, sir.
And
it's a great event. It's a great ceremony.
Yeah.
If you don't have anything to do that day, stop by.
And it's important.
Yeah, it's important.
The National Honor Society kids get to wear a braided cord, and so our young folks going into the armed forces, they get recognized too. Some of them may have a National Honor Society cord and their military service honor cord. So.
For some reason, that ceremony is always emotional to me. I don't know. but it's always emotional.
Well, you probably think back to when you
Yeah.
were like that age and you were heading off, go to the MEPS and then
Indeed. Yeah.
off to boot camp. So, all right. So, VA benefits are not taxable. Remember that. VA benefits are not taxable. And you got a couple weeks left to get your taxes done. So AARP helps with that. You got to make an appointment, 386-313-4048. It's a volunteer service. They offer it multiple locations in the county. I had one of the things I saw in the news this week that I wanted to kind of hit on, and that is, if you remember last year, and we got a lot of calls on this, people being worried that their benefits would be cut off because the VA was saying that they were going to be short funded and that they needed a stopgap funding. So they harped on that between March and September of last year. Well, it turns out none of it was accurate. The VA had plenty of money, and so I just want to kind of remind you folks that rather than get stressed out when you hear this stuff on the news, just remember where it's coming from. And you might just be being manipulated, so don't fall for it. You don't want to stress yourself out all summer because you think your benefits might be affected because the VA says they were short money.
Not at all.
So
it's not worth it.
Not worth it. And relative to the current stuff going on, we've talked about this before with the Department of Governmental Efficiency. We are not seeing anything about your benefits being interrupted, or even Social Security for that matter. It's more about repairing the inefficiency in government so that you can continue to receive your benefits and possibly even your benefits be enhanced. So that's the hope through all this, because there's a lot of billions of dollars that are being wasted all over the world, and I'm trusting these folks to find it, fix it, and make things better so that you don't have to worry about your Social Security being cut by 25% in future years, and that you'll be able to collect your Social Security as promised throughout your working life. So trust the process. I know it's
let it work.
I know it's kind of you're looking at it both ways. Last year you couldn't trust the process. This year we're saying trust the process, but just do your homework. Don't just take one thing you see on the internet, on Facebook, one piece of news. Cross-check it multiple different ways, and so that you're not stressed out over it. Get down, take the time to get down to the truth, so that you don't have to worry about things.
I want to thank a couple of my customers that have asked me if this this changes that are affecting our job security here, and I tell them no. We're not federal employee, we're county employee, we're fine. So, but I really want to say thank you, because that means that you're thinking about us.
Yeah, thank you. And it sounds like the new VA secretary, he is a veteran himself. He's actually still a reservist, and so he's got no reason to try to undermine your VA benefits. All right, so this is let me see how much time we got. Let's get into it. This is a topic may not be. Oh, we've got 3 minutes, so we might have to get it. We'll touch on it and then come back to it again next week. But excuse me, it's not a sexy topic, but special monthly compensation, also called SMCs, and the VA offers those. I got to admit, I don't always focus on these, and but we do have folks that we should be focusing on them, taking a look at them, and seeing if there's some special monthly compensations that they're eligible for. One that always comes up is the for the loss of use of a sexual organ for erectile dysfunction.
Right.
Sometimes for women, for if they have a hysterectomy or some other female issue. So that's a special monthly compensation that gets, you don't get a rating for it with the VA, you get the special monthly compensation. It's additional compensation that's added to your VA disability compensation. And so that's one that we see the most. And then we see other ones like what's aid and attendance. So if you have you're receiving VA disability compensation and you need the assistance of two or more daily living activities, then you may be eligible for aid and attendance. You have to have a VA examination form done by your doctor to show that you do meet the eligibility criteria. So keep that in mind. If you're receiving benefits and you're in that situation where you need help at home, whether it's bathing, taking your medicine, cleaning, toileting, things like that. Things like that in the home.
And let me say something to that. The aid and attendance, the need for those help with those activities of daily living have to be because of one or two of your service-connected disability. Because if it's because of a different condition that is not rated by VA will deny.
Very good point. Very good
so
point.
So it have to be because one of your service-connected disability. And that aid and attendance also applies to the spouse of the veteran if she need help with 2 or more ADLs. And that's different. Of course, she's not service-connected or anything like that. But she need to prove that she need help with those because of her condition. She need help with the ADLs.
Excellent point. So, yeah. So if you're the veteran, then focus on your doctor describing your service-connected disabilities and how they create that need.
I received a couple of those physical forms, and they, the doctor, not knowing how this program worked, focus on other conditions. I said, no, take it back and have him or her, focus on your disabilities.
Well, I think we're going to end it on the aid and attendance for this week. We'll get into there are a few more that we can talk about next week. And but I got to let you know that no country, no state, no community does more for veterans than the United States of America. The great and free state of Florida, the wonderful Flagler County, the lovely city of Palm Coast, and all of our beautiful beach cities here. Be a victor, not a victim. Be educated, not indoctrinated. And most importantly, be kind to someone today or many someones. I know that's not a word, but Billy likes when I say it. So I appreciate you listening. Eric, any final thoughts?
Well, thank you guys for listening and now watching our show, and I hope you guys have a great week, and we'll see you next week again.
Oh, and yeah, one more thing. Visit Massage by Natalie.
Very important.
Massage by Natalie and Company, 386-227-7499. It's at 4871 Palm Coast Parkway Northwest, Suite 1.
Especially if you're stressed out with things in the news, guess what? Go and visit her.
Right. Thanks, folks.
Bye-bye.